In a world full of chaos, where every noise distracts, every opinion weighs, and every decision seems more urgent than the last, it's easy to get swept away by the storm of life. You rush, you worry, you try to please. But in this sea of confusion, true power is not in how much you do, but in what you eliminate. Silently. There are things, small and large, that, without you realizing, corrode your peace, drain your energy, and steal your serenity. Things that, by holding on to them, you weaken yourself. True strength, true peace, is in letting go, in eliminating what no longer serves you. Today, I'm going to show you the 7 things you should silently eliminate from your life. Not with fanfare, not with drama, but with the firmness of someone who understands that true strength is in calm, in silence. Because when you eliminate what weakens you, you find what strengthens you. Before we begin, I want you to comment below right now the word calm, because that's what we're seeking. A calm, serene, unshakable mind. Leave this word in the comments and make this commitment to yourself. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, now is the time. Subscribe and activate the bell for more lessons that can transform your life with Stoic wisdom. Let's go together, step by step, eliminating what prevents you from reaching true inner peace. Because, in the end, strength is not in resisting the storm, but in walking through it with serenity. Let's go. 1. Comparison with others. The first thing you need to eliminate from your life is comparison. And I'm not just talking about the obvious kind of comparison when you look at someone's life on social media and feel like you're falling behind. I'm talking about that silent comparison that infiltrates your mind without you noticing. The comparison that shows up every time you think, why do they succeed and I don't? Or, am I doing something wrong? We live in a world where comparison is almost inevitable. Every day we're bombarded with images of success, perfection, absolute happiness, people showing their best versions, their moments of glory. But what you don't see are the struggles, the stumbles, the internal battles these people face. What looks perfect on the screen is just a fragment of reality, edited, filtered, displayed to seem unattainable. And when you compare yourself to that, you're playing an unfair game because you're only seeing the final result, never the process. Comparison distorts the way you see your own life. It places an invisible weight on your shoulders. The more you compare, the heavier that burden becomes. The problem is that in this game of comparison, you never win. There will always be someone who seems to be on a higher level, with more success, more wealth, more friends, more recognition. And as you compare, dissatisfaction grows within you. Silent comparison undermines your confidence, and little by little, you begin to doubt your own worth. But here's a truth you need to internalize. Each path is unique. Every person has their battles, their victories, their defeats. What works for others may not work for you, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. True strength lies not in following someone else's path, but in walking your own. When you compare yourself, you're distancing yourself from your true purpose. You're moving away from the person you truly can become. What's even more dangerous about constant comparison is how much it drains your energy. Comparison consumes your mind, distracting you from what really matters. And when you realize it, you're more focused on other people's progress than your own. The time you spend admiring the neighbor's grass, you could be using to cultivate your own. Think about it. How much could flourish in your life if you stopped comparing yourself and started investing in yourself? But how do you break free from this cycle of comparison? The answer is simple but powerful. Silently. Without fanfare, without dramatic gestures. Just start letting go of this habit, little by little. It won't be easy, and I know that. But every great leap begins with a small step. The next time you feel the urge to compare, pause for a moment and ask yourself, what do I gain from this? The answer will always be nothing. When you leave comparison behind, something amazing happens. You become lighter. That weight that was keeping you from progressing, that was holding you back, disappears. And suddenly you realize you have more time, more energy, more focus. Because now, instead of watching other people's lives, you're fully dedicated to your own journey. You're investing in yourself. You're watering your own garden, and it begins to bloom. Remember one important thing. Your only competitor is the person you were yesterday. The only comparison worth making is with your own progress. Every step, no matter how small, is a victory that's yours, personal, unique. When you stop comparing, you'll realize how much you've already evolved and how much more you can grow. And that, yes, is something to be proud of. So, eliminate comparison from your life. Silently, let it fade away. And meanwhile, stay firm on your path. The world is already full of copies, of people trying to be what they are not. What it truly needs are authentic people. Those who have the courage to follow their own steps, like you. Be true to who you are, and life will reward you in a way no comparison ever could. 2 negative people. Have you ever been near someone who seems to drain all the light from a room? Who, instead of uplifting the space, brings a cloud of pessimism, complaints, and discouragement? These people are everywhere, at work, among friends, and even in the family. They are the ones who always find something wrong, who always have a criticism to make, who live in a spiral of unsolvable problems. Next to them, you feel the weight of life increase. Joy fades, and everything seems darker, more difficult. And here's the truth. You are the reflection of those you spend the most time with. You may not notice it right away, but the negativity of these people begins to infiltrate you, silently. The way they see the world, the words they choose to describe life, start without you realizing it, to shape your own vision. Every pessimistic conversation, every complaint you hear, it's like small seeds of doubt are planted in your mind, and gradually they grow. And when you least expect it, you're seeing life through their eyes, questioning your own hopes, your dreams, and your ability to overcome challenges. Make no mistake, the people you choose to have around you have a direct and profound impact on your life. You may think you're strong enough to resist their negative energy. You may even think, this won't affect me, I can stay positive. But over time, that strength begins to wear down. Every comment, every criticism, slowly erodes your confidence, your vital energy, until you realize that your perspective has been contaminated. A criticism here, a complaint there, and suddenly you find yourself unmotivated with the same limited view of someone who only sees problems and obstacles. So, what should you do? The solution is not in confronting them. It's not in trying to change these people, because that change does not depend on you. Trying to change them is like trying to hold water with your hands. Frustrating and, in the end, futile. What you can do, what is within your control, is to distance yourself. Silently. This distancing doesn't need to be dramatic. You don't need lengthy explanations, you don't need to apologize or justify your reasons. Just start, little by little, to reduce the time you spend with these people. Decrease the frequency of meetings, the intensity of conversations. It's not about abruptly cutting ties, but about allowing the negativity to dissipate from your life. And in that space that opens up, you can begin to invite people who inspire you, who bring light, who share your vision of growth and progress. When you eliminate, or at least reduce, the constant presence of these negative voices, something powerful begins to happen. Your mind clears. The fog of pessimism that once surrounded you starts to fade. You begin to hear a more important voice, your own, the voice of serenity, of confidence, of determination. And little by little, the world around you feels less heavy. Your energy, once drained by negativity, begins to return. Life seems lighter, more full of possibilities. This is a silent act of self-care. Eliminating or reducing the influence of negative people in your life is not an act of selfishness. It's an act of wisdom, of protection. You are not being cruel by stepping away. You are preserving your own energy, your mental peace. And by doing so, you become stronger, more resilient, more capable of facing the challenges that life throws your way. Because to truly be stoic, to keep your mind calm and balanced, you need to protect what is most valuable, your inner tranquility. Distancing yourself from these people is a silent but powerful choice. It doesn't need to be a grand gesture. Just do it with the calm and wisdom of someone who knows that, to grow, you must surround yourself with those who lift you up, not those who drag you down. Understand, true stoic strength is not only in resisting external challenges, but in protecting your interior from influences that do not benefit you. Silently, allow yourself this space of peace. Distancing yourself from negative people doesn't have to be abrupt. Do it gradually, with serenity. And when you look around, you will realize that the world has become lighter, clearer. because the silence of these negative influences will give way to strength, positivity, and true freedom to move forward. 3. The search for external validation. Think for a moment. How many times have you made a decision, not because it felt right to you, but because you hoped to be applauded by someone? How many times have you adjusted your words, your gestures, your behavior, in the hope of being accepted, of seeing that like, that compliment, that approving smile? It seems harmless, almost insignificant at first. But quickly, this search for external validation begins to grow, and, without you realizing it, starts to control your actions, your choices, your life. You begin to measure your worth through the eyes of others. And in the process, it's as if you are handing over the control of your happiness to someone who barely knows you. Someone who may even like the image you project, but has perhaps never seen your true self. What happens when you don't receive the recognition you expected? When the likes on social media aren't as many as you imagined? Or when the expected compliment never comes? A feeling of emptiness takes over. You question yourself. You feel smaller. You start to doubt yourself. All this because, without realizing it, you have become a prisoner of an illusion. The idea that your value depends on the approval of others. Now I ask you, who determined that you need external validation to be happy? Who said that your worth, your peace, your essence depend on a yes from outside? This is one of the biggest mistakes people make. They live to please, to be accepted, while silently their true self fades away. Wise people understand something simple, yet profound. The only validation that truly matters is your own. The search for external validation is an endless race. It's like chasing your own shadow. No matter how hard you try, it will never be enough. Because what you're trying to find outside can only be found within you. When you finally free yourself from this need, when you realize that your worth is not in someone else's hands, something profound changes. You begin to feel a calm you never knew before, a freedom that seemed impossible. Silently, you let this need for approval die, and suddenly, you stop seeking outside what has always been within you. This doesn't mean you'll disconnect from people, or that you won't appreciate social interaction. It simply means that your peace, your happiness, will no longer be at the mercy of others' opinions. You will no longer be a slave to external approval. You will stop living to please and start living for yourself. Because the only approval that truly matters is your own. And here's the truth. You will never be able to please everyone. There will always be those who disagree, who don't like you, who criticize. But that has nothing to do with you, and everything to do with other people's expectations and perceptions. When you stop seeking external validation, you gain something most people never experience: power over yourself. The freedom to be who you are, without fear, without needing acceptance. Think about it. Every time you seek others' approval, you're in some way giving away a piece of yourself. You're giving up a bit of your authenticity. But when you leave that search behind, you gain something much more valuable. You reconnect with who you truly are. You reclaim your true essence. So silently, let this need for external validation die. Free yourself from the need to be approved, applauded, praised by everyone. Because in the end, the only approval that really counts is yours. And when you understand this, when you truly internalize this truth, nothing will stop you. You will be unshakable. Because your strength, your confidence will no longer depend on external factors, but will come from within, from the most powerful source of all, yourself. And as time goes by, you'll notice something extraordinary. The less you seek others' validation, the more you attract genuine respect. Not because you try to please, but because your authenticity shines. People are naturally drawn to those who are true, to those who live their lives without asking for permission to be who they are. So, eliminate this relentless search for external approval, silence it, and feel the relief of being who you are, without masks, without fear. Because in the end, life is too short to be lived to please others. Life, real life, begins when you find your value within yourself. 4. Guilt of the past. The past. It holds you, not with visible chains, but with memories, regrets, and failures that you carry like a heavy burden. Have you ever caught yourself thinking, what if I had done things differently? What if I hadn't made that mistake? The truth is, we've all been there. But while you continue to relive those moments, what you're really doing is giving the past power over the present. It's easy to get stuck in the idea that somehow revisiting the past can change what happened. But it can't. And the more you cling to guilt, the more it drains your energy, stunts your growth, and steals your present. Guilt doesn't serve to teach you. It doesn't heal. It only traps you in an endless cycle of self-judgment. And the worst part? You don't even realize how much you're losing by holding on to it. While you drown in guilt, the present slips through your fingers. Every moment you spend reliving past mistakes is a moment lost to do something better now. You want to move forward, but it's as if an invisible rope is tied to your ankle, pulling you back again and again. Every time you try to move forward, that rope drags you back to the same place. Regret, guilt, pain. How many opportunities have you missed because you were stuck in the past? How many joyful moments have you lost because you were so fixated on mistakes that can't be corrected? You're trapped, but what's crueler is that this prison doesn't have an external key. The key has been with you the entire time. You don't need permission from anyone. You don't need a perfect moment. The truth is, you can decide right now to let that guilt go. But how do we do that? How do we let go of something that has consumed us for so long? The first step is accepting that the past cannot be changed. Yes, you made mistakes. Yes, there are regrets. But from this moment on, what matters is what you do with what you've learned. If the past can't be altered, you have the opportunity to transform it into wisdom, into strength. What you need to understand is that guilt doesn't define you. What defines you is your ability to grow from your mistakes. The past is a lesson, not a sentence. Imagine that you're carrying a heavy backpack full of stones, each stone representing a mistake, a failure, a regret. Now imagine the relief of starting to remove those stones one by one. That's the weight of guilt being lifted from your life. You can continue carrying that backpack if you want. You can keep punishing yourself for past mistakes. But why? Who really benefits from that? You're just losing the chance to be who you're meant to be today because you're still chained to what you were yesterday. Let go of the guilt. It doesn't have to be dramatic. It doesn't have to be a grand act. Do it silently, internally, at your own pace. Just acknowledge what happened, happened, and it can't hurt you anymore. Each time you let go of a piece of that guilt, you make more room for the future. The future, which lies ahead of you, can't flourish while the past is taking up so much space in your mind. Life is now. It's happening at this very moment. And if you keep looking back, you'll miss everything that's right in front of you. What do you really want for your future? Do you want to remain tied to memories that only cause you pain? Or do you want to make room for new possibilities, new dreams, new achievements? The future is in your hands, and each time you eliminate the guilt of the past, you strengthen that future. You free yourself. And in that moment of liberation, you'll realize something powerful. The past no longer has control over you. So stop now and think. What are you willing to let go of to live fully? The answer should be clear. Let go of the guilt. It no longer serves you. And when you do that, you'll realize that life is much bigger than any mistake you've made. What matters is not what happened yesterday, but what you're willing to do with what you've learned today. 5. Fear of failure. The fear of failure. It is subtle, yet overwhelming. It doesn't need to shout to be heard, because it whispers insistently. It says you're not enough, that you're not ready, that failing is shameful. These whispers, no matter how quiet they are, invade your mind and paralyze you. They make you avoid even starting. And that's where true failure happens, before you even try. This fear robs you of your ambitions, suppresses your dreams, and prevents you from moving toward your potential. The fear of failure is an invisible prison that keeps you chained. You think you're being prudent, that you're waiting for the right moment, but in reality, you're hiding. Hiding from opportunities, challenges, and most of all, from yourself. Because failure itself is not the enemy. The real enemy is the fear that stops you from trying. Failure, it hurts. It can make you doubt your abilities, question your worth, and even your purpose. But it's precisely in those moments of pain and discomfort that growth begins. Every time you fail, you're not just making a mistake. You're learning. You're discovering something new, strengthening yourself. Failure is life's test to see how much you really want success. And the truth is, those who fail are the ones who eventually succeed. Great masters, leaders, and sages who shaped history didn't reach the top without facing defeats. They didn't get where they are without failures, without falls. What sets them apart from the rest is the courage to keep going, even when everything seemed lost. They understood that every failure was a step up, not an insurmountable obstacle. Every mistake pushed them closer to their goals. As long as you fear failure, you will never be willing to truly try. The fear of failure convinces you that it's safer not to take risks. It whispers that it's better to accept a comfortable life, a life without great risks. And in a way, that comfort zone feels safe. But in reality, that safety is a disguised prison. What you don't realize is that by avoiding failure, you're avoiding life in its fullness. You're depriving yourself of opportunities for growth, of transformative moments. Failure is not something to be feared. It is part of the process. Every time you fall, you get up stronger, wiser. Every mistake is a valuable lesson disguised as defeat. Life tests you, but it also teaches you. If you face failure as part of the journey, you'll realize that it's not the end, but the beginning of something greater. Think about the times you failed. Think about the lessons you've learned from those moments. Now, imagine what would have happened if you had given up at the first mistake, if you had allowed fear to take over. Would you be where you are today? Would you have achieved what you've achieved? The answer is obvious, no. The fear of failure holds you back. But by confronting that fear, you find freedom. What you need to understand is that success is not the absence of failures. On the contrary, success is the sum of all failures, transformed into learning, strength, and resilience. When you stop fearing failure, you begin to experience life in all its depth. You realize that every failure is a step forward, that every mistake shapes you for something greater. Silence the fear of failure. Don't let it keep telling you that you're not capable, that you shouldn't try. Because real life, the life you desire, begins when you face failure head-on and realize that it's just part of the path. Success, in the end, is not the destination. It's the journey. It's the sum of every fall, every scar, every mistake that has strengthened you. Eliminate the fear of failure silently, because when you stop fearing failure, you will begin to truly live. You'll see that failure is not the end of the road, but the starting point for something greater, something better. Success is not the absence of falls, but the courage to keep going, to learn, to evolve with each one. 6. Rushing to please. The rush to please others is one of the most dangerous and disguised traps in life. You feel the need to be available for everyone, to be the person who solves problems, who never says no, who is always there to help. It seems that if you don't do this, you'll be seen as selfish or incapable, someone others would reject. And that's where the cycle begins. Little by little, you start shaping your identity around others' expectations. Your time, your energy, and even your dreams are drained by tasks that often shouldn't even be yours. As you rush to please, you move further away from yourself. Your own inner voice starts to get silenced. You stop listening to your needs and ignore your limits. And every time you say yes when you wanted to say no, you lose a piece of your essence. You stray from the path you should be on, distancing yourself from your values, your desires. Living like this is like trying to run with your feet tied. What you don't realize is that this relentless pursuit to please is in fact a way to imprison yourself. Living to please is living to lose. Losing who you are, losing control of your life, losing the opportunity to be true to yourself. You become a shadow of your own will, someone who always puts others first, while your own dreams and priorities are forgotten. And how many times have you found yourself wondering why you're so tired, so exhausted? Perhaps the answer lies in this constant need to always be available, to please everyone except yourself. How many times have you said yes just to avoid disappointing someone, even knowing that it would drain your energy? This rush to please is a trap. You run, you strive, but never feel like you've done enough. And the worst part, the more you try to please, the more others expect from you, and the less you receive in return. In the end, you find yourself exhausted, drained, with no energy left for what really matters. Slow down. Stop rushing to please everyone. Because deep down, the truth is you will never please everyone. There will always be more demands, more expectations, more requests. But you don't need to be everything to everyone. You don't need to be everywhere at once. You don't need to carry the world on your shoulders. You have the right to say no. You have the right to choose what's important to you. When you stop trying to please, something amazing happens. You start to regain your time. You start to hear your own voice. And more importantly, you begin to realize what truly matters to you. When you stop worrying about pleasing others, you start to reconnect with yourself. Life is not about always being available for others, but about being present for yourself. Silently, you learn to prioritize yourself. And when you do that, others begin to respect your boundaries, to recognize your value in a deeper way. Allow yourself to live at your own pace. Eliminate the need to please. Silently, start saying no to what doesn't strengthen you, and say yes to what makes sense for you. True peace lies in living according to your own values, with your truth. The more you respect yourself, the more others will learn to respect you too. What really matters is that you're at peace with yourself, in harmony with your decisions and your choices. 7. Material attachments. We live in a society that, from an early age, teaches us that a person's worth is in what they possess. We are constantly bombarded with messages that say the more we accumulate, the more complete we will be. The more material goods we acquire, the more successful we will be perceived as being. But the truth is, the more you possess, the more you become possessed. These material attachments are like invisible chains. You think you're building a fortress around yourself, but in reality, you're trapping yourself in a prison of worries. Every new possession brings with it a new set of anxieties. The new car needs to be protected from accidents and vandalism. The expensive watch needs to be kept safe, closely guarded. The luxury house becomes a golden prison, where the fear of losing what you have consumes more energy than the joy of enjoying it. How many times have you looked around and asked yourself, do I really need all of this? And how many times, right after that question, have you felt a pang of guilt or emptiness, as if you were chasing something you can never reach? Because deep down, you know that the pursuit of material things is an endless journey, a race that never ends. And in the end, you don't own the things, they own you. What are you really accumulating? Is it happiness? Is it peace? Or is it the constant fear of not having enough, of not being enough in the eyes of others? Attachment to material things is a burden you carry on your back, even without realizing it. The more you cling to these things, the heavier your spirit becomes. These possessions, which should bring comfort, end up creating anxieties. But what if you started to let go? What if, silently, you detached yourself from the need to accumulate and possess? I'm not saying you should give up everything you have, but to rethink what truly serves you, what really brings value to your life. What is just taking up space, both in your home and in your mind? The lightness of being is not in how much you possess, but in how much you are able to let go. Every object you release, every attachment you eliminate, is one less weight on your back. And with less weight, you can walk further with more freedom, more clarity, and above all, more peace. Think about it. How many of your greatest moments of happiness truly came from material things? How many came from a new car, a bigger house, or designer clothes? And how many came from simple experiences, from authentic moments, from human connections? The answer? You already know. The greatest moments of happiness are not in things, but in simplicity. In the freedom of living without being imprisoned by possessions. Because in the end, material goods are distractions. They divert your focus from what truly matters in life, your essence, your relationships, your experiences. When you detach from material possessions, you rediscover the pleasure of simplicity, the power of the essential. Detaching from the material doesn't mean abandoning comfort. It means rediscovering balance. There's nothing wrong with having things, but it's a problem when those things start to have you. When you free yourself from material attachments, what's left is far more valuable than any object. The lightness of being, the tranquility of a clear mind, and the peace of a liberated spirit. Stop for a moment and reflect. What are the possessions you truly need to be happy? Those that, if lost, would have a real impact on you? You'll realize that the answer is not in objects, but in experiences, in moments of connection, in the freedom to live without the weight of material worries. The Stoics understood that attachment to material things is a distraction from the true path of life. They knew that true wealth is not in having, but in being. Being free, being light, being in control of your own mind. Detachment doesn't mean losing, it means gaining. Gaining freedom, gaining clarity, gaining the inner space necessary to focus on what truly matters. And in the end, when you silently eliminate these attachments, you realize that what remains is far more precious than any possession, because the true lightness of being is priceless. If you've watched this far, it means you're determined to transform your life, to walk with more lightness and purpose. This shows a real commitment to your evolution. And now I want to know who made it to the end of this video. Comment the word renewal down below so I know you're ready to live a fuller and more balanced life. And if these lessons resonated with you, if they helped you reflect and act, leave a like and subscribe. Together, we can spread this message and help more people. See you in the next video.